You are now listening to Creative Hora.
Hi everyone, welcome to Creative Hora. I'm Dalia,
And I'm Mary.
and we're so excited to welcome you back for another episode with two friends. And friend, I know that we love to jump into these conversations with a brief vibe check to check in with each other. And so I'd love to get started, friend, and just checking in with you. How are you doing? What's the vibe today with you?
Yeah, so I think the week's been a little, I would say, bittersweet, rocky, I would say. Processing a lot of personal emotions with like celebrating birthdays, but also celebrating some grief. So really being patient with myself as I navigate through the week. So that's where I'm at. Very little, very lower energy, I would say, but very much aware and present of what I'm feeling in my body. Very much aware of the things that are comforting me at this time, and also much aware of not kind of escaping through the emotions, even though they're a bit more difficult. So yeah, bittersweet week for me or day it's been. But what about you, friend? How are things on your end?
Well, friend, thank you so much, first and foremost, for sharing with us, how you're feeling and being transparent about where you're at the moment. I want to extend my gratitude because you showed up here with us today, and so I really appreciate you for that. How I'm feeling. I would say the word that comes to mind is
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling compassionate towards myself.
Mm.
I feel like the last week was also very, very difficult, as well. I've been also processing some different emotions, some ups and downs, but I've been reflecting a lot around
Mm-hmm.
my like personal relationships with my siblings, with my parents, with friends, and just trying to be in a place where I am, finding ways to, I guess, like, even improve these relationships, or
Mm.
areas that I can, be a better sister, be a better daughter. And with every human, there's so many areas of that we
Mm-hmm.
could always, improve. And I would say the last week I've noticed a lot of like little arguments with like my sisters or with my parents, like really, like, not really small stuff. And previously I would feel like really guilty about not being the best sister, not being the
Mm.
best daughter, not being the best friend. So this week I've just been really, really focused on, one, like you said, being really present with what's coming up.
Mm.
And instead of feeling like feelings of guilt, I'm just being compassionate, and I'm acknowledging what is coming up for me in my relationships, and I'm being
Mm.
compassionate towards myself so that I can really be intentional about improvements in my communication or different areas that may impact these relationships. So that's what I'm
Mm.
feeling. I'm feeling very compassionate to myself, and it feels nice. It feels nice not to not to feel guilty. um
Right.
but yeah, so I feel like feel in the space of just compassion.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, wow, it wouldn't be Mercury retrograde without these feelings coming up, right? Feelings
Yeah.
of reflection, feelings of just pausing and assessing our positionality of relations to like our relationships with whether it's family or friends or chosen family. So yeah, Mercury retrograde in full bloom, I would say.
I know, right in the middle of an eclipse period too.
Mm,
So we got a
love
lot of
that for us.
flowy things happening in March.
Yeah, no, I love that for us. I think that's the beauty of these seasons or of just astrological movement, whether it's the eclipse or the retrograde. Even though they're hard to navigate, personally speaking, I do think it pushes me to just be super present with my my emotions and
Hmm.
again like how I project towards others and even towards myself. So I do love that that you the word you use of compassionate towards yourself, because sometimes I feel like there's a lot of compassion I give to others, but then I forget like that piece of, oh yeah, I could also be compassionate to myself as I give compassion to others. So I love that, friend.
Yeah, friend. And I know one of the beautiful things about being a human is that we can restart every moment that we decide. We have the free will to do so. And so, yeah, there's, instead of being in these cycles, I'm, trying to just, like you said, pause and really just sit with what's coming up and, do so in a way where I'm still being kind to myself and still showing up for
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. But to just transition, I know we're in the thick of our mid-season of Creative Aura. I think we've gone through a lot of changes as we
Mhm.
relaunched our podcast to a different name even, and we've tried different formats of the podcast. So I think for our conversation today, would love to dedicate time and again going back to the theme of our check-in, pausing, reflecting, and as we go through our mid-season, I guess point of the podcast of season 3.
Yeah, friend, I'm so excited to celebrate this milestone with you because, yeah, we've gone through lots of iterations of Creative Hora to be here in this moment together. And
Mhm.
I think ever since we launched, it's been now a couple months, 6 months or so, since we like launched the season together.
Mhm.
It's been a lot of learning and it's been a lot of opportunity to grow our creativity. And so I'm so curious, friend. I know this season we've been a little bit more focused on our own personal journeys with creativity.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what's been one highlight from the past 6 months when it comes to your creative journey?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think key highlights I think that are coming up for me in terms of my creative journey. One with the podcast. I'll say two things. One related to the podcast and even outside of the podcast of the basketball community I've been creating with my partner. But first within the podcast, the creative side of us having our own episodes, and yes, we do have guests, but I think relying less so on guests and more so creating our own content within the episodes has been such a fun treat. Again, I mentioned that we're trying different formats, different segments, if you want to call it that, different ways of just making sure that the look and the feel and the vibe of the podcast and the things that we're discussing really encompasses both of our personalities. So I think that's been a really fun creative journey of the different iterations that we've seen even when we started um way back then with
Yes.
Crypto Corner or whatever have you. um so I do love that part of the creativity within our the podcast of having ownership of just the iterations of it and just recreating our logo and our brand. So I do
Mhm.
like that piece of just the evolution of, again, we were very much focused on guests and now less so on guests and more so our own creative pursuits and sharing that with the audience and within the podcast.
Yeah,
But
friend, absolutely. And to
mhm,
that point, what I love about what you have mentioned is that, in building the new logo, in relaunching with like a color scheme that we liked, felt like reflected our brand. I just have seen in myself like so much confidence in the
mhm,
podcast as well.
mhm,
So yeah, it's been so nice to see that develop in the last few standalone episodes.
mhm. No, definitely agree. And yeah, I mean, I think the other part outside of the content we're creating together within the podcast is definitely love our own evolution and journey of us pursuing our creative pursuits, or whether it's, again, whether it's me with my basketball community, but then hearing your updates of the different tools you're using to scratch your creative itch of your own creative pursuits have been really eye-opening. I think that's what creatives do. They share different tools or different ways to get involved in the community like yourself, and even the concept of play is always there, so I like that reminder because I think as I've built my own, again, like the basketball community and going through that creative process and the learning lessons there, I do think I really love hearing your updates with like the things you've done with the community or things that you've done on your own to center yourself and what you need to like continue finding that creative pursuit or passion that you want to explore. So I think that's really helpful to just bring in play in the podcast and bringing
Yes.
play for me as well to just as a reminder.
Yes, friend. And that's one of my favorite things as well of the last, of looking back at the episodes that we've recorded together
Yeah.
is that opportunity to be with my friend in an
Yeah.
environment that is easeful, that is, very like soft and tender. I come out here
Mhm.
and it's a safe space to share how I'm feeling, to share updates about my creative journey. And yeah, it is so nice to have this virtual third space together in the platform. And, if looking back at the discussions that we've had,
Mhm.
I feel like my favorite thing about this season is that I'm learning new things about you, friend. So much that you
Yeah.
share is, a lot of times new to me as well. And I feel like very much like an audience member. I feel so lucky that in this platform, I still continue to learn from you. I still continue to discover new things about my friend. And, the
Same, yeah.
stories that you share are so, they're just so sweet. They're funny. They make me laugh. And, I just appreciate from your humor to the knowledge and insight that you've shared about your creative project with your partner Amani. So I feel like it's been a really nice of one learning more about you as an individual, but also learning more about you as someone that is, growing a brand and is growing a business with your partner as well. So it's really nice to see both sides of you um, in this platform and see that
Mhm.
reflected, because I think it's incredible that our audience can tap into, one silly Mary, but then also get shit done Mary. And so I love seeing that. And so that's been my favorite thing about the podcast in terms of our interactions. But then also just secondly, like I said, I'm a true believer that we're allowed to change and decide to change at any
Mhm.
moment that, we feel like it. We have, we're able to do so. And, I feel like in the last 6 months, I've gone through so much change. Like I
Mhm.
feel again like a different person. And that's so crazy to say because you this feeling continues to evolve where I'm like I'm really not the same person I was 6 months ago.
Mhm.
I feel like so much more confident in my endeavors that I'm pursuing with my hobbies. I feel so much more confident in just expressing my voice in this platform.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel confident to say that we are, creators that are trying to like make it happen here with the podcast and, find new ways to say, you mentioned find new ways to try things out and test things
Mhm.
out, which by the way, we have an announcement towards the end regarding,
Yes,
trying
yes.
new things, which we'll talk more about. But yeah, that's been my favorite part from relaunching and now being in a mid-season finale as I reflect back.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, now just hearing you talk about just the different things that you most liked about, one, season 3 in general, but the podcast and the platform and just us as two friends sharing this space together. I think it's really nice to just pause and like think about and absorb everything that you just said. Cause I'm like, damn, like we've really done a lot. We've gone through a lot of changes. We've done a lot of things in terms of trying things out, what fits again, the vibe and the feeling that we want out of this platform. So I do give us a lot of kudos of just making it this far and just continuing, these conversations again between two friends, talking about creative pursuits with others, and one also talking about just the entire creative wellness journey. I think we like to frame it as well. So yeah, I think it's just a good pausing moment for me as I was listening to you talk about your favorite parts of season 3.
Yeah, friend. And you know what? This is what's so exciting is that this is just like the beginning for the platform. We have so
Mhm.
much exciting things that we have lined up and guests that we're hoping to bring on. So it's really just, the a nice moment, like you said, to reflect on our accomplishments and look ahead, which is why I'm really excited about our
Mhm. Mhm.
next activity together. So, I'm not sure if, some of you folks out there saw some of these trends that were happening around the new year, specifically around bingo cards, which essentially was a way for folks to get creative around setting some New Year's resolutions. So
Mhm.
Mary and I wanted to take a stab at that, add our own twist to it, of course. But I'll let Mary explain because she actually brought this idea to the table. She mentioned that you know she and her partner actually did this together, and I was really interested in that
Mhm.
process and how they did that. And so yeah, I would love for you to explain to our audience, Mary.
Yeah, I think the best way I could explain it is essentially it's similar to a vision board, but in bingo card format. So whether it's a two by two, and in our activity, we'll use a three by three. Um, but again, when we think about our typical vision board, we're putting really big aspirations out there, like obtain X. I don't know, like goal of owning something. Let's just say, or eat really good nutritious foods, let's just say. So I think when I'm thinking about this bingo card format slash vision board format, I'd love for us to do one for Creative Aura. And the main difference is that in each square of the bingo card, we can put something that's very tangible that we want to achieve for Creative Aura. So for example, just so that I can orient like our audience and ourselves too as we're talking about it,
Yeah.
if we were creating a typical vision board, we would just say maybe like, oh, grow to like 1,000 followers, let's just say. But to me, it's missing the action steps, and that's what we're
Mhm.
putting in these boxes. So, but again, I think I want to also caveat like we don't have to get that nitty gritty of metric system per se. We could also be like, what creative things are we trying to achieve within the podcast? So I think it's a fun little discussion for us as we're reflecting on season three, since we are midway through the season. But I also think it's a great time to just reset and create our own bingo card for Creative Aura.
Yes, I love it, friend. I love this idea because we're also doing it right before, we're filming right before like Aries season kicks off. So it's the beginning of the astrological year as well.
Mm,
So it's not something that, like you said, has to be done at the New Year's. It's something that, you could bring on as a vision board and do anytime. Um, but yeah, let's jump in, friend. I love it. To our audience, of course, to provide a visual, we are really what we are thinking is a three by three. So essentially, nine open slots for the the bingo card, which essentially means that if we hit three in a row, we'll get bingo. So we'll see if we're able to do that this season.
yes, definitely. Yeah, I think in just thinking about it, friend, would love to start like any idea what you would like to put in one or two of our boxes. And again, we could just bounce ideas off since this is like very much live that we're doing this activity. So um it's fair game for whatever comes up for us in terms of what we want to achieve creatively for the podcast.
Totally fine. Well, first of all, that middle space is a free
Yes.
space.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one that comes to mind is, one of the things that we really have discussed a lot and talked about has been, community has been a huge center of what we're trying to build here. And one goal that I have for the podcast is finding new ways to engage with the community.
Mm.
And so for one of the creative goals out there, it'd be great to host like one like live session on our Instagram with folks around a creative topic. I say one because we're we're midway, and so I feel like that's totally doable.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, like one live event on our social media
Mm,
with a creative topic of our choosing. And even if we get no views of people that are on there, just a way for us to find a new way to, you know, expand our platform and try new things. So that would be one of the
mm,
things that comes to mind.
yeah, no, that's definitely uh, a challenge for sure. So I like that. So I think we could definitely add that. I think in just in the same realm of social media, I think one goal for me that I would like to put in our card is speaking in like the same category of engagement, but responding to people more quickly, whether if they're engaging, especially on our socials, whether that's through the comments or whether that's through the stories. Once we start putting stories on it, like responding back or just engaging. Because I see that we have people who comment. And I think right now the most we've had capacity for is to heart it. But I do think like just another layer of engagement is just responding back with another comment or probing them to engage with us some more, and like whether it's leaving it more open ended so it doesn't end there. I think it's one goal I would like to put in our box, in our bingo card box.
I love that, friend. Yeah, and yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity to engage with folks that are commenting on our social media, that are following our journey, and it will just, allow us to continue to build that the connection with our audience. So I appreciate that one. And I guess on that note, it would be nice to double our Instagram count. it
Yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
obviously that's a metric that is it's one that we've been working on for a while, but why not, it's a vision board. And
Yeah.
so I know that obviously the action is super important. So if we're engaging more with folks, if we're hopping on lives, potentially these are things that could help us expand our followers and our audience. More so, I like to think of them as audience members, not
Mhm.
followers, but
Yeah.
just for the intent of making sure that we have a place that we are engaging with people that are watching, or sorry, listening. You can watch on YouTube, but listening on most
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely love that. I think I knew we were gonna have one growth metric in here in this
platforms.
in our box. So but I do think in terms of the like I think we do a good job diversifying our creatives, but I would love to have someone a creative that we haven't, or someone who's in the creative field that we haven't had in the podcast before. I think would be something really cool to have to just add on to our, again, our diverse pool of creatives. I mean, we've talked to lots of writers and musicians and even digital art creatives we've had,
Mhm.
but I don't know, it'd be cool to talk to someone who's, I don't know, who knits, let's just say, or who does sculpting, or yeah, just something very much
Oh my God, that's so cool.
different.
That
I mean, we even have like artivism creatives, who like to do art and related to activism, but I do think adding more, just expanding our pool of creatives that we've talked to would be cool, and it's just the idea of just learning about a new creative outlet that I've never heard of also is fascinating to me. So I think I'd definitely add that to our a little bingo card.
that is such a I feel like that's such a creative add-on because it's a way that we can challenge ourselves as well to be really intentional about expanding different creative outlets. Because to your point, we feel like we've done a pretty good job about that, but it is a little fun challenge to, yeah, see if we can find someone that knits or sculpts or does something totally different
Right.
than we've talked about on the podcast. So I love that one, friend. I think that's an incredible one. And so, another one that I have in mind for the podcast, and this is more so, it's a little bit of a personal goal that I've had in the
Mm,
past,
mhm, mhm.
but I'm really excited to share it with the audience. But again, on the theme of finding new ways to engage with our audience members, one of the things I'd love to do on the podcast is, I have a blog that goes along with some of
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
episodes. And, I mentioned on this podcast, I have shared that I love reading and writing. It was a passion of mine when I was little. And, I've been trying to reconnect with that. And, that's been a whole story on its own. But, yeah, I would love to start writing a blog and, have that be something that we collaborate on, potentially something that we can both utilize as a way to share insights about our guests, or
Mm-hmm.
even share insights about our creative updates. But yeah, I think that would be
That's
super
exciting.
exciting as a companion to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I know you've mentioned it, and I've heard about your fantasy fiction. I'm just kidding, and stories.
Not my fan
No,
fiction.
your fan fiction, not your fantasy fiction. No, but yeah, I'm super excited about that one. I'm glad you mentioned it and shared it with the audience because I mean, they're in for a treat for sure with the blogs and yeah, I just can't wait to read your blogs and definitely collaborate with my own vlogs to see what format I take. But I'm excited about that one since I know we've mentioned it a couple times in terms of you getting back into writing. So I think it's a beautiful journey to see that into fruition with the blog.
Yes, friend. I appreciate your support. I really do. I feel like it was a thing that, like any creative, I wish it would have launched earlier, but I'm
Yeah, yeah,
excited to
yeah.
bring that and share that with our audience.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my last thing that I would like to add on our bingo card is definitely finding a way to even record a session in person with you. I know we've had some couple opportunities in the last year, whether it was our Tokyo trip or even our most recent LA trip, but I mean things come up and we're not like really we're focused on the moment of being there together with our friends and family. But I do think it would be super cool to do at least one live recording together in the same box, not in a different box. So I do
Yeah,
think I want to add that there, throw it in there for
yeah,
before
maybe,
season three ends.
totally. Yes, I was like literally thinking like maybe Mary and Dahlia live from New York.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, a recording together would be cool.
I love that. Yes, and I know we've had a couple opportunities. We've been together, whether it was in Tokyo, DC or LA. But I feel like those moments have really been just
Yeah.
really devoted to huge life milestones. So they've been
Yes.
really
Yes.
tough to try to sit down and actually record an episode. But yeah, I would love that, friend. I would love to record an episode.
Mm.
Whether it's in New York City or if it's in DC, whatever it may be, we'll figure it out. But I think that's an incredible goal.
Yeah. No, I love that. But any last thing for your boxes, or we can leave it open ended as well? I mean, I love leaving some of them blanks too because it gives us time to, as we progress throughout the season, gives us time to just, oh yeah, let me put that in there, or oh yeah, I thought about that. So I think, yeah, having blanks is I think is a good thing as well.
I'm totally down to leave two open spaces, one open space on your end, one on my end. And then as we are checking in on the bingo card and crossing things off, definitely adding a couple more creative goals in there, I think doesn't hurt. So I love that. I love about keeping that space open.
Yeah, let's do that then. Wow. So we've, again, I think that was a fun activity for me in terms of just taking a step back and looking at, again, mid-season for season three, like what we've, not what we've learned, but things, our most favorite things, and yeah, some things that we like learning, but also things to keep on a lookout for as we created a little bingo activity vision board for Creative Aura. So I do think yeah, I like that activity a lot. So thanks for just collaborating with entertaining that idea when I threw it out there.
Yes, friend. I love this because it's a way for us to do something live, and I had no idea what you were going to share, and I had some inklings of some of them, but for the most part this is pretty live. We just, we went ahead with what we had all thought about and we shared it in the space, so I appreciate that. And to our audience, we talked a little bit about a vision board, having creative goals. We use the formatting of a bingo card, but we would love to hear from our audience as well. How are you tracking your creative goals? And if you're
Mhm.
not tracking them, what are some ways that you're looking to better track them and share them with folks?
Yeah, love that question, and would love to hear from the audience and see what we can learn from.
Yes. And then, we'll also make sure to share a visual of our bingo card on our
Mhm.
social media. So folks can follow us there on Instagram at Creative Hora, and we'll make sure that we're also updating that live as we cross things off, which, by the way, we will have our
Yes.
first cross off because we are actually launching the blog in companion to this episode.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
will share that on social media and also link that in Spotify, in YouTube, and those appropriate description boxes.
Yes. Again, I'm excited for just the audience to read what you got cooking, because definitely got a sneak peek, and I think it was a lovely, lovely thing that you got going on there, friends. So I'm excited for you to share with the audience.
Thanks, friend.
Thanks for tuning in. Creative Hora is a podcast production hosted by Dalia Zaragoza and Mary Figueroa. This episode is edited by Abdullah Kawish and is produced by akstudio.global.